Check.
All right, so you
Check.
need to...
Check. Bobby. Check. Check, check, check.
Are you okay? You keep saying check. Are you all right?
Check, check. Yeah, you say check.
Check. Check.
Don't lean into the microphone. Just say normal.
Check. Check.
Good, good.
Check.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can make you do anything, Bobby.
If we ran Nintendo.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to episode 122 of If We Ran Nintendo. I am Bobby, the Nintendo Guru, joined by my greatest co-host in all the land, Sean Capri.
What the hell was that pregnant pause? I thought something was wrong. I thought you were frozen. Hi, Bobby. I miss you. I miss you, buddy.
I miss you too, dude. That's legit.
I want to reach out and touch you. I remember how thrown off you got. I just you were doing your thing, and then I was just like, now I'm choosing to touch you in this moment, Bobby.
I know it's so it's real weird for me because the past 3 days I'm like, well, Sean's here.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like I can go talk to him. I can go hang out with him. I can go whatever. And now you're gone. And
I know.
It's like, damn, dude. And the crazy thing is this. It's like, man, I legit miss you. Like that's
man.
And it's weird because I think I realized that you were probably the better friend than Toby.
Yeah, obviously.
You were probably the new best friend in all the land.
Toby, I'm so sorry. I swear I didn't even campaign for this.
No, because you know what, dude? It's like we had okay, so I go back and I watch the videos, right? And dude, we just click, and the weird thing is we could not talk, and it's not awkward. Like we don't
just hanging
have
out,
to fill air.
Yeah,
we're just hanging out doing our thing, and then it's just, dude. And
you're like, hang on, I'm gonna record my giant 4K video. I'm like, cool. I'm gonna have a nap on your couch.
But the crazy thing is it did. It was like, man, this just really, I kind of missed this already. And I've been going back and watching the vlogs just so I can see you and me hanging out together. And it's like, that's the one thing I took from all this. I mean, you didn't know that I was going to start vlogging on Monday.
No.
And what happened was I got in my mind that I was going to begin this new style. And it was funny because last weekend I talked to Jules Watcham, and I'm like, I'm just going to try something. You
know Jules Watcham?
He's like, I know Jules Watcham.
Cool.
And stop. No, but we were talking. I called him on the phone to see what, catch up. And I was saying to him, like, hey, I got this new idea I want to throw by you and tell me what you think. And he was like, dude, it sounds pretty intriguing. I'm interested, and so I do the first day and I'm like, okay. And then you come in the second day and I'm like, perfect. And then I do the third day and then I do the fourth day. And today's the first day I didn't vlog the whole day and I actually missed it. And I was like, I need to continue this because not only that, the ability to go back and watch my days and that's the thing. I'm going back and I'm watching videos of you and me in New York, or you and me going to Nick Militia's store and all that. And I'm like, this is just amazing, dude. This is kind of cool that I'm actually encapsulating days of my life.
Yeah,
and it's weird.
I think you do it well too, man. And man, I want to talk about let's come back to in a second us sitting down in front of the camera, because I think it's not even fair. It kind of hit me while we were kind of talking about that. But for you and the vlogging and everything, I was we were coming in on the train, and I saw you whip out the camera, and you're shooting the things it says New Jersey Transit on the top. You throw the camera out of the window, and we're coming on in, and there's bridges passing by, and there's landscapes, and all the things kind of flying by, and I was like, I realized how good you were at it when I was like, damn, I wish I thought of taking that shot. Or like we'd step out into New York City. I was like, damn, why didn't I think of like, and I wanted to like grab my camera and like take a couple pictures. I'm like, that looks really awesome. I'm like, that's such a copycat thing to do. But I'm like, Bobby's got this. I don't know. I feel like it's a weird, but maybe like the best compliment I can pay you is just like when you'd whip out your camera and take those short video clips. I'm like, I wish I was doing that. I wish I had thought of doing that. Not that I wish I was doing it, but I wish. Like, and you don't even really seem to think about doing it. You just like, time to take the shot, and it's a great one. So I think it's just so natural, dude, and it's so great. And I'm glad you're doing it.
It's weird because I remember listening to Greg Miller one time on Beyond, and I think it might have been just around the time that they were leaving and going on their own. And I believe Colin and Greg were having a conversation where Greg was like, I've been doing this for 8 years.
Yeah.
And like, people don't realize that. And he was like, dude, do you realize that like most of the popular people on YouTube have been doing it for like 10 years?
Yeah.
And it's like, it takes you 10 years of practice to find your niche. So all this stuff that I've been doing for the past 3-4 years is practice for when I finally figure out what I want to do. And the vlogging is just like, so think about it. Like last year I was doing Nintendo Talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing Nintendo Talk 5 days a week. And then at one point I cut it back to 3 days and I did 2 videos in between. And then this year I come back and I start Nintendo Guru Daily. And I changed the name because I'm like, well, I can start to do stuff with me, not just Nintendo. So if Nintendo's having a slow news day, now I fill in with me. And now it's turned into like me vlogging my day, peppered in with Nintendo news. Mm-hmm. And it's like the transformation of that show to what it is, dude, it has me fired up. To the point where I'm actually going to vlog tomorrow. And I'm going to vlog Sunday.
Saturday.
Like I'm in love with this whole style, and it's like, it's fun. It's just it's such a blast.
It's cool, man. If people seem to like it, and it's great, man. It's awesome to see. Now I want to quickly chat about you set the camera down, you got the tripod out, we're at your kitchen table, and all of a sudden you're just like, you throw a topic at me, and we just start talking, and like it hit me while we were recording, where I was like, I mean, I think it would only get better with time and practice, and if we were to do it more often. I was like, but it wasn't even, I felt like it wasn't even fair. I felt like we were so good at it, like just in person and like just being there side by side. Like there's no weird internet delay, there's not like us staring at a screen, there's no way to be distracted. It's just like we are there, and there's nothing quite like just being next to each other. Like Chelsea's a photographer, and she often says like a few inches is a mile in photography, right? Like where if you're standing like close, like actually get closer and it will look so much better. If you're a little bit far apart, it looks like you're miles and miles apart. So I just think that there's power in just us being like next to each other, and your table was perfect, and it was just kind of like you set the camera down. I don't know. It would just be cool if we could do that more often, you know?
Dude, and that's the part that has me sad, is because I'm going like I walked through the kitchen this morning, and I'm like, I see the table, I'm like, damn, dude, I would love.
His stink is still on that chair.
No, stop it. I would love to be able to record, because essentially what happens is I put the camera up, I go sit down, and we just start having a conversation. And dude, it's like,
you just snap into place.
Like we're not even recording. It's like the camera's not even there.
Well, that's the thing that I was thinking. The next level of that would be, okay, so I move in, and you set up like Big Brother cameras, right?
Oh,
and it's just like things that are like following us around and stuff, because you just never know when greatness awaits.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, dude. And it's like, it's crazy, dude. It's when I think about like, so I was having a conversation with Tony earlier this week, and she had watched the vlog. She had seen the first day, and then she saw the second day with you, and she had said to me like, my God, your editing has absolutely transformed from when we first started doing this to what it is now. And she's like, I'm just shocked at how good you are at editing. And that's like a huge compliment to me, because to me, editing doesn't just happen when you sit at the computer.
I know.
Editing's happening as you're going, like as you were saying, like I'm pulling the camera out all of a sudden. I'm playing my vlog through my mind the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I had said to you, like, hey man, when we were going into Starbucks, I had said like, hey, that's the mailbox that C&D stood at for his month-long journey. I'm like, and they all signed it. I'm like, I just want to go up and take a video. So I went up to it and I took a video, right? And I just took a video of the top. And then we went to Starbucks, and we were in Starbucks for, 2 hours?
Yeah.
The whole time in the back of my mind, I'm going, when I come out of Starbucks, I have to film the mailbox in its entirety. Because it didn't feel right.
See, that's why it's so natural for you. Because, like, I didn't know that you were thinking that the whole time. You didn't seem distracted or anything. But for me, like, I talk a little bit about sometimes where I'm like, I just need to, like, dedicate some time. Like, my mind works so differently. Where I'm like, if I can just dedicate my time, then I can, like, really come up with the answer. But it's always working. It's always happening in the background. But you're not, like, completely distracted from it. But I don't know. I need to...
And it was...
And I wanted to do that on the flight on the way home, but there's no way. Dude, I got home. Did I tell you this? I walked in the door at 4:30 my time, 6:30 your time. I walked in the door after all the delays and everything.
Dude.
So we're a little late starting recording today because I put Lincoln down. I'm like, I just need if I can just steal like a half an hour sleep here to turn out to. About
I don't know how
minutes.
You did it, dude. I don't know.
Me neither, man. I was a bit of a zombie today, to be honest. At work, I was a little bit of a zombie, but I was on there. Dude, I had to. I was away. Like I was still working this week, but like, I was away from the office is difficult. So I needed to at least be there. I had a couple conversations, but I left a little early. We recorded the Xbox Drive, and it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare, but I felt I was off. So now I've slept. Now I'm ready for If Free on Nintendo. Todd Oxtra can just chillax a little bit. I'm gonna mention Adam Leonard for another week in a row.
Well, I was gonna mention Adam in a minute. So
we'll talk. What about Andrew Gonzalez? Just as soon
that's what I was gonna say. Well, you're jumping ahead.
All right.
Let's kick this episode off like we do each and every episode with our shout outs.
So what you playing? Brought to you by Flux with Flux.
He's not here. It's done.
Okay, brought to you by Nintendo Shack.
No, that's even worse.
Dude.
So my shout out is to Andrew Gonzalez. There's two reasons for this shout out. Number one, I totally flubbed his name yesterday when I was driving home, and so in the vlog, I'm driving home at the end.
No.
I don't know if you saw yesterday.
I haven't seen it yet.
I'm driving home, and I called him Alex Gonzalez.
Oh no!
And but I put underneath of it like when I caught it, I messed the name up.
Yeah, it happens.
I put the name. It's close, Alex.
Dude, during the Xbox Drive today, I was like, remember when we got that free game on PlayStation Plus, and just kept going on. I was talking about games with gold. And I just kept going on. And I was just like, holy crap, man. So, there you go. I feel like that's way worse.
But that's the first time I've actually had a conversation with Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
This dude is amazing.
Yeah, man. Everybody should get to know him.
Everybody should get to know this kid. He is phenomenal. Such a nice guy. You know what I mean? Like, we've had a few Twitter exchanges, like where he's liked stuff, or he's retweeted stuff, or like I've liked something he posted, but never really talked. And man, this kid comes out with us, and me and him basically start talking DC.
I know.
All this stuff. And I'm like, I have so much in common with this guy. This is amazing, you know. And it was such a good kid.
Well, I had one of those moments. Like, so it felt very nice. Like, we picked me up from the train station, and we just like hopped in the car and we just started hanging out. And it was just like it was, and it wasn't even weird. Like last time that we met, like we met in Penn Station and we were hanging out all day, and it wasn't weird. But like this time, it was like I'm sitting across the table from you two, and you guys are going back and forth about like comic book nerd stuff. And you guys are huge giant geeks. I'm just kidding. But I'm sitting there, you guys are going back and forth, and I just kind of like stopped and like checked myself in the moment. And I was just grateful for the moment, but also just like, how cool is this? You guys are just sitting there, you'd never met before. There's the power of the internet, the power of all of this stuff, and you guys sitting in the same Starbucks across the street from Nintendo World in New York City, just jabbering on about whatever. And I'm like, how lucky are we, man? Like, how fortunate. And like, nobody's murdering each other. Not in a creepy internet kind of person way.
The one thing I want to say is, so people might be going like, well, who is Andrew Gonzalez? Andrew Gonzalez, he writes for the enthusiast group. So Nintendo enthusiasts, Xbox enthusiasts, PlayStation enthusiasts. He does predominantly most of his work with the Xbox enthusiasts. Please go check out his work. Go see what he's doing. Go read a couple articles. Send him some love, please, because this guy is such a blast, such a good guy, man. And he's so like. I noticed something yesterday when I was editing. He's very modest, and very aware of his surroundings. There was many times that I was shooting stuff, and I would see him like backing out of the footage, meaning like, oh my god, I just stepped into the footage. I'm so sorry. Yeah. But that wasn't even like it wasn't even an issue. Yeah, it would have been perfectly fine.
And also the complete opposite thing that I would have done. Like, oh, I'm in your shop, Bobby. Yeah, here's my nipple. Here's my nipple.
You're like, but he's such a class act.
He really is.
So I wanted to give him a shout out and absolutely, tell people, go check him out, please.
AVG Vulture 89 on Twitter. And the thing that I like, the reason that I took that moment was like because of gratitude, and when you guys were chatting was because both of you have such deep knowledge in geeks and games and comics and everything. Like, he's the kind of guy that like whatever on ramp you've taken to being a total geek, he'll chat with you on that road forever. If you're into games or if you're into whatever, like you said, Xbox or Nintendo or he's just awesome, man. So
such a good guy.
Well, and we also we saw Jams.
Yes, Jams came out. Well, you know what? For me, Jams, I've already met Jams and I hung out with him, so it was just great to catch up with him again and hang out with him again.
For me, it was, dude, I was so excited. And for me, I knew that I was going to be seeing Jams for a while leading up to this trip. So with Andrew, it was like basically like last week. He's like, okay, I'll see if we can make this work. So it didn't have the build up, but for Jams, I had a little bit of build up. I had the 2014 Just Dance Kids for the Wii U sitting here. I've had it here since like I don't even know when I bought that thing. So I've been so excited even just to hand this thing over to him, and I've been a huge fan of Jams for so long. I think he's absolutely hilarious. He's a sweetheart in real life. And I just wanted to hug him. I just wanted to he shaved for me. I think it was for me. Yeah. He had a nice little baby face and everything. And it was just so unreal. We were just next time we just have to go somewhere else other than New York City. I think I'm done with New York City.
Come to my house, man.
Yeah, it's only an hour away. Actually,
the thing of it is
2 hours away.
Well, the thing of it is like you were in Mount Laurel, right? We could all just went to Philadelphia.
Yeah, I think next time that might be what we do.
There's a lot of stuff like Independence Mall and all that stuff. Like there's some cool stuff in Philly, and it's not. I feel like Philly's not as hectic. Or we can go to Atlantic City. Atlantic City's another place we could go. Go there, do a little gambling and stuff. Yeah. So the one thing I did want to talk about real quickly before we jump in to any topics and stuff. I just want to take a second. I want to talk about This Is Us real fast. I am caught up. I finally caught up, dude.
Oh my god, I don't care.
I've been binge watching this show. I've been crying like a little baby. Like, dude, this show is powerful, Sean. You really need to get on it, man. Like,
I'm not encouraging this.
Me and Johnny Casino, and now I found out Johnny Casino watches it. I didn't know. Adam Leonard, him and Johnny were talking today. I was like, whoa, guys, I haven't caught up yet.
Spoilers, guys, come on.
No spoilers. And they didn't. They backed off the conversation and totally, killed it. And it's such a good show.
There's no such thing as a spoiler in This Is Us, because you just have to think in your mind, what is the worst possible thing that could happen to these people? Oh yeah, they did that. That's what they did.
Well, the thing about it is they're bouncing around in time all the time. Right from basically pretty early on the onset that what happens to the father.
How did I manage to do this? I thought I was shutting this thing down, and I just gave you.
You're not, and it's just amazing how they just move it around. It's so well done, man. So well done.
I think I'm done with Octopath Traveler. I think I might
be. Why?
I don't know, man. I don't know. And somebody can reach out to me and let me know. Like, just push through. But This, and I was saying to the Nintendo Caro today, it is super repetitive even for a Japanese role playing game where I'm just like, holy crap, man! I'm completely on autopilot. I'm just going from like one thing to the next, and it doesn't. I just don't know. I feel like I've got the experience of the entire game within just getting the first chapter of all 8 characters, and I just don't know, man. It's just like it's a little.
That's not good.
It's a little up its own ass. A little bit.
Well,
if you know what I mean by that.
Let's be fair for a second. It's the same development team that worked on Bravely Default.
And that was the exact same problem with that one.
And
I feel like it's even worse. I feel like it's even worse because it's like the 8 characters. It's like you do the thing for the 8 characters. Now, I did say to Kara as I was chatting with her on her Twitch stream at twitch.tv/thenintendame. And I think that there's an additional part of it that I'm not really jumping into, which is like managing my party. It's like a puzzle. I think for every area or whatever chapter or whatever story you're after, there's the best party that you can put together that's going to like wipe through all the enemies. I haven't really gotten into that, so maybe these battles will take me a little longer than they should, and I'm getting kind of just like, eh. But I don't know. I was glad to be able to like play my Switch. Usually what I do, Bobby, which is a mistake when I travel, is I bring too much with me. I'll bring my Vita, and I'll bring like an Xbox with me or whatever. This time I was very focused. I'm like, I'm only going to play this one game. So I played a little bit of that, but I might have killed it. Might have killed it a little bit, Bobby. But we'll see.
And I
really wanted to go back to Mario Odyssey, to be honest with you.
Tell you what we need to do. We need to play some ice hockey.
That was amazing and amazing. We should do that.
That was... So for those that don't know, I got Sean to buy Nintendo Online.
Oh yeah, let's walk through this. How'd you do that, Bobby?
So what happens is
No, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this because okay. So Bobby's like, "Hey, did you know that I'm a Nintendo guru?" I'm like, "I know that. I've heard of you." And he's like, "Yeah." So like these amazing people at Ojo called me up and like, "Holy crap! I can't believe we found the Nintendo guru. Will you have an Ojo? We'll give you an Ojo." They knocked down his door and they bowed at his feet and they gave him an Ojo. And then Bobby gave his totally impartial review of it, which was great. And so, anyways, that led to me and Bobby hanging out. And he sets the Ojo up on the table and all joking aside, I'd never seen it working. He sets it up. I thought it looked very good. I thought it sounded even better. You crank that speaker, and I was actually like feeling it in my chest. It was very clear, very powerful. So, instead of we've got this giant screen, Bobby's telling me, he's like, yeah, this is probably about 60 inches, but it can go up to like 120 inches. I'm like, that's amazing. It's just on your wall. How incredible is that? But he's like, yeah, but I don't want to split the screen in half for co-op or for multiplayer, like couch co-op. So bust out your Switch. You play on whatever that thing is, 5 inches. You play on that, and I'm going to play on my Ojo on the wall. And so we get there, and I'm going through the motions, going through multiple. I'm connected to Bobby's Wi-Fi. I think it's called I Love Toby. Was the password for his Wi-Fi. I heart
because
Toby.
That's one thing you said. You were like, because it's Nintendo Guru.
Yeah, he names his Wi-Fi after himself.
Yeah. You're like, I want my Wi-Fi.
Our Wi-Fi is called Animal Crossing. Because of all the animals and because of the show and the break. Look at that.
Yeah.
Led to anyways. So going through the motions. So it's like for me, I'm not even thinking about Nintendo Switch Online. I'm just like, I've played this 100 times. A multiplayer and go through the motions, and I click the button and it's like, you do not have Nintendo Switch Online. And I was like, son of a gun. Did you guys really get me to do this right now? And then even in this moment, I didn't even think of it being a possibility of playing just like split screen on your giant Ojo. I just go right into spending my $45 on a year family pass for Chelsea and me. And we play, how many games of Mario Kart did we play, Bobby?
It was only like 2 or 3.
2 races? Maybe? Yeah, I think 2 races.
Yeah, 3 races.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I gotta go edit. And then I was like, I gotta go edit. And then I went in and I took the phone, I set up, and I was like, oh my god, this thing's taking forever to upload the video to the computer. So I just let it keep going. And then I come back out there and I was like, hey man, let's play some NES games. And we were gonna play, what were we gonna play at first?
I honestly don't think we had decided on anything.
But anyway, I was like, let's play ice hockey. And I started up ice hockey, and you had never played before.
Yep.
And then the first game I was kind of like crushing.
I think it was like 9-0.
Yeah, it was something.
Maybe 14. I'm not even sure.
A little bit in the
but I started to get it. I need to work out the buttons and everything. Yeah.
But then by the third game, you had it coming.
I started making saves. Well, because every shot you took. Wait, I was gonna make a police joke. Every move you made and every breath you took. Yeah. Nah, it doesn't really work. Everything was going in. But then I was like, because you were kind of talking, if you're always focusing on the puck, then you're never focusing on your goalie. So there's a couple times where I was like, okay, let him have the shot, and then I could save it, and then we can go back and forth. Yeah, it's almost like it's almost like table tennis. It's almost like Pong in a way of going like back and forth and stuff. That like the rallies that you would have back and forth. It was a good time, man.
Pay attention. You have to pay attention to. It's one of those things of like, do you try to go after the puck handler with a player, or do you start to defend the goal?
Yep.
And it's like that's what happens. You're trying to decide what's the best move at that time, and that's where you can kind of get caught up in yourself and lose. And it's not good to not go after the puck with a player, because then if I slap shot and it bounces off of you, then one of my other players can get it and put it in. So it's kind of one of these things of like, you really got to be able to manage it well, and it's so much fun, dude, because it's not 15 buttons, it's 2 buttons and directional. And that little bit, it just goes to show you how a minimalistic game back in the 80s still holds up and still is such a blast.
I wish I could map my buttons a little bit, but yeah, it was a great time, man. So, and now there's 3 more games. There's Zelda SP and there's Super Dodgeball.
There's four new games.
Oh, the Zelda's the 4th.
Zelda's the 4th. It's Mario. Well, it's NES Tournament Golf. Solomon's Key and Super Dodgeball.
Right.
And then Zelda SP.
Right.
Which I think you should probably try Zelda SP. I think you might enjoy it a little bit. I really do. I think, and the reason why I say that is because you had said you had a difficulty like going through, and this basically wipes out the beginning portion of the game.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. I just don't like that there's like legit like a bush that you have to light on fire, or a part of the mountain you have to blow up to actually progress.
Some of those bushes are already missing in this one.
Interesting.
And some of the walls are
how very modern. I mean, back in the 80s and in the late 80s, bushes were very natural. Everybody let their bushes out, and now in 2018, like most people take care of those bushes before they get out of control.
Oh, Lord.
You know?
Oh Lord. Oh God.
I'm talking about pubic hair, guys.
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, it's that was a lot of fun. And that's where, that's the thing. Like I think that's where the part of where the missing the whole thing, dude. Spending a couple days with you really was like the last time. It was like you say, went to New York. We went up there. It was a little different. This time was, because it's also that awkwardness the first time you meet. You know what I mean? Like it's like, yeah, we know each other because we talked to each other.
Well, we honestly hadn't really known each other that long the last time. I don't think we'd known each other for even a year yet.
No, and we've kind of gone through some stuff in this last year. Like I think this last year really defined some friendships for me, at least.
Yeah. Everything changed when I sent you that dick pic. Jesus. It was all like,
why do you need to just screw up the moment, man?
I didn't know we were having a moment.
Well, I'm sorry,
I misread the moment.
Sincere, and you're like, you just come in with some stupid nonsense.
Yeah, people hate it when I do that.
It's but seriously, it's like, I had gone through some stuff this year, and I think that what I had gone through, it brought you and I closer. And there was a weird gap, I think, at least maybe you just don't think that way, but like for me, there was a weird gap when I was determining what I was going to do when I came back, whether I was going to go back to make it better, was that not, and all that. And I felt like I was kind of avoiding you a little bit just because I didn't want to talk about if I was coming back because I didn't know what I was doing and all that stuff. So that kind of, in my mind, put a little bit of a strain on the friendship. But then, like, once we had our serious conversation of what we were going to do, it really pushed me in a better direction. And I was like, and then, dude, it's just weird. The past 3 weeks with the show clicking the way I feel it's clicking, and it's really opened me up to like, man, I'm back to enjoying my time with you and the show and all that stuff. It's like, it's a whole new world now all of a sudden. And then spending the 3 days with you, I was like, oh crap, dude, this is awesome.
I know you're sitting there trying to figure out how do we do this again. Like
that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking like, man, I need to go.
Come here.
I need to go get my passport. Like, that's what I'm thinking. Like, I'm not going in the winter. That's not going to happen.
Well, now
not
it's
going up there and
winter now.
working.
My car is under snow right now. Like it's outrageous.
That's
It snowed
ridiculous.
again.
Yeah, it's October.
So there's
man.
there's a couple weeks in July, that you could probably do, but other than that,
and that's fine. That's what I'll shoot for. I'll shoot for next year.
Okay.
You know what I'll do? Maybe I try to take off E3 the week of E3 and come to your house.
Oh my gosh, get out of here, dude! That would be amazing.
How cool would that be? Let me work on that.
Oh boy. Okay, that's gonna happen. Oh my god, there's gonna be so many kids here. Holy crap!
Tell Chelsea to just calm down. Tell Chelsea to go to Vagina. Right, I mean Regina.
Dude, okay, so I brought up a window to message her, right? Mm-hmm. To say Bobby's coming at E3, but instead I did open it, but it showed up over your face, and the last thing that she sent me was a video of Lincoln naked dancing to whatever he's dancing to here. So, and the video, if anybody wants to watch, go to youtube.com/Nintendo Guru at whatever mark this is. We're about a half an hour into the show. And sorry, Todd Oxtra. And there is a baby's butt right over top of Bobby's face.
You got to take that out.
Can't do it. It's just going to stay there. Anyway.
So anyway.
Now I'm not even going to tell you about what we were talking about. So it was all for nothing anyways.
That's fine. Right. Okay, so let's jump into our first topic. Well, our only topic, because I didn't bring a second topic. So if this goes for 5 minutes, then it is what it is. Yeah.
Done.
We'll just go back to the book. We're fine. So if we ran Nintendo, how would we have marketed the Wii U differently? Now, I got to give a little bit of a shout out just to the Nintendo voice chat group. I recently returned and went back there. And I don't really get involved in the conversations because there's a lot of hate and arguing going on. And I don't care for that stuff anymore. I'm over that stuff. So I really try to avoid commenting on anything. More or less what I do is I sit back and read the topics and just see what people are talking about. And someone had posted a topic and was like, hey, man, what were some of Nintendo's ultimate failures? And I was like, that is the greatest topic for us.
Yeah, man. So did you save it?
I saved it so I can go through, cherry pick.
Mm-hmm.
Some people brought up the virtual console. Some people brought up stupid stuff like, oh, the Switch. Just dumb. You know what I mean? Like trolls.
Yeah.
Just had some trolls. But the one was, yeah. One person came in and was like, the Wii U marketing. And that's all they put was Wii U marketing. And I thought about it for a minute, and I was like, man, they're right. They're absolutely right. It was such a dull moment for Nintendo. It was like there was so many things they did wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to look at Nintendo, right, and you look at the Switch, in my opinion, the Switch is probably, next to the Wii, hands down the best marketing you could do for a video game.
Well, I think if you go back, they've always been able to demonstrate, marketing is about illustrating how unique you are. What is your competitive advantage? Why are you different and better? They've always done an excellent job of that. NES's quality and Super Nintendo is an extension of that. Super Mario 64, the nature of 3D, never been done before. On 64, the marketing writes itself for that one. The Wii U is playable by everybody. The Wii is playable by anybody. Yeah. The Wii U, and maybe that's what we can kind of explore here.
We'll dip into that a little bit, but what I wanted to get at is when you looked at the Wii, that whole we would like to play, and the two Japanese guys showing up at everybody's front door, and knocking on the door, and then just showing the Wiimote, and then they go in and they're bowling and they're playing tennis or whatever, and it was just perfect. It was lightning in a bottle, man.
I feel like they didn't even have to try. You're right, that was a commercial that existed, that was a thing, but they had that magic moment of word of mouth. Everybody, people were like, you've got to see this thing, and they showed it, and then that person went out and bought it, and then they told two friends, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. So I feel like there wasn't necessarily as big a push for the Wii as they even needed. And they were just they're selling these things before they could actually get them in stores, which was nuts. After the Wii U, they had to really focus in on this thing's got to stand out, and they've got to make a big push, and they think they did that. But they just kind of, I feel like they were resting on their laurels a little bit with
Absolutely.
This. They even called it, the namesake suggests that as well.
Yeah, the Wii. So they leaned heavily on the Wii
Mm-hmm.
because the Wii was so successful. I mean, come on, it makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, if you have a juggernaut, you're just gonna keep going with it. Like,
It
why
could have
would you
become
choose-
like their PlayStation. It could have become
It
like the
could've.
thing. Like if they could have kept using it, but they like you.
That was the dumb thing. That was where they
What does
screwed
that
up.
even
That
mean?
that was number one because it was so much confusion for families. You know what I mean? Like, if they would have just put a 2 there,
Yeah, exactly.
game over. Game over. Everybody that owned a Wii, not every, a good portion of the people that owned a Wii probably would have picked up a Wii too.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't pick up a Wii U because they were like, the hell is it? And then the fact of they just did a horrible job of translating what it was.
Mm-hmm.
What they did was, I feel like what they did was they allowed the media to dictate the confusion.
Big time.
And in Nintendo's typical fashion, they just ignored it. And I feel like if any time, that was the time to come out and go, okay, we need to teach these people what this is.
Yep.
This is not a peripheral. This is a new console. We need to drum it home.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the time, that was E3 still doing, Nintendo was still on the stage. It was one of the final years they were on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking directly to the media, and then the media comes out and just plays really stupid.
Yeah.
With it. And I think that with Nintendo, if they would have at that point took that as a warning, like, oh, we're in trouble here, we need to do something. They should have went all hands on deck and been like, okay, we need to fire up and show people what this is. We need to get commercials out and do stuff.
Well, to your point of it being old, the thing is of that being a long time ago, that was before like the proliferation of the brand ambassador or influencer on YouTube. So now there's trillions of us all over the place, all with our comments and proliferating the opinions. Back then, much smaller number of people that they very easily, if we were at Nintendo, I think we would have gathered them all up, got them up in this big old train and taken them out to Nintendo Farm and went, this is what the Wii U is. They had a chance for them to like take them out for an amazing weekend that they'll never forget and kind of like, you know, change their opinion a little bit in that wine and dine kind of thing.
I'm assuming you're talking media because
that's what I'm saying. Because there wasn't that many. But now now there's not as many YouTubers out. There wasn't as many YouTubers then than there are now.
There was so there was YouTubers obviously because YouTube's been around for a long time. But be honest, were you paying attention to YouTubers at the time?
That's what I'm saying. That's my point.
Yeah,
you could just take the IGN. You take the IGNs, the GameSpots, everybody like that. There's a few dozen people who have a giant reach, and they're the ones who the same people who were saying how confusing this is and how stupid is this, and they hear one thing and they don't spend any time to really change their minds about it. Nintendo had to be in there and say, we can collect 50 people who have basically 90% of the voice in video games and Nintendo video games, and they can that's classic old school video game like influencer relationships. You can't do that now. There's too many people with too large audiences. You can't get them all in the same room. But that was definitely a thing, man. You fill them up.
But you could cherry pick and take the top tier.
You buy a floor out in a hotel room or in a hotel and just like have a weekend with them to tell them what it is. But I think it reminds me a little bit of the Switch, and when they had their press conference, I feel like even then they didn't really know how to talk about it. They didn't know why it was special. They just knew it was. And that's what they did with the Wii U. They just didn't know. They were waiting for somebody to make something of it. And I remember feeling the same way with the Switch, and that's why you and I fought when that thing happened. But
well, I think if we could talk about the Switch a little bit, I think Japan obviously wanted to lead the cart with the Switch. Their problem, in my opinion, was they catered to a Japanese crowd, and we talked about this a little bit at that time. But Japanese crowds don't cheer. So when they're showing stuff that like people should get excited for, they're not getting excited. So it kind of leads the audience as well, because we were getting excited at some of the stuff in the beginning. Then when it hits the lull, you're just like, should I be excited or shouldn't I be excited? Like, I'm not, but is it because the crowd throws you out? And my reference that I said to you was, if you go watch New Japan Wrestling or these like the crowds are silent. They're having mega matches, like the top guys going against each other, and it's pretty silent, and it's weird. When you talk to or when you watch interviews from wrestlers, they go, dude, it's real weird to wrestle in Japan and then come to the United States, or go back to Japan, or start in the United States and go to Japan, because it's all about storytelling. It's all quiet. Like, you can actually hear people crying in the crowd because of the storylines and stuff, and it's like real strange. So I knew pretty early on, man, they got a problem here, because immediately when you went into message boards and stuff, people were just like, dude, the crowd wasn't into it. It was boring. And it was like, oh, here we go, Nintendo. You dropped the ball here again. Luckily, they came out really strong the next day, and they started showing off the games. And I think that started to change people's perspective a little bit, because they were like, oh, wait a minute, they're showing us the games that's at launch and what is coming out. The other thing that we talked about that you had said too was, man, there's only like 2 games, 3 games, whatever. And then slowly after that, all these games started announcing, hey, we're coming out launch day. Hey, we're... It was like, what the hell did you do? So it's like they didn't really completely learn their lesson at first with the Switch. But the marketing to me has been pretty damn near dead on. Like, every major Nintendo release gets a big commercial campaign with it. Like Mario Aces, they had Nadal and Mario playing tennis against each other. So they really leaned heavily into what they were doing with the Switch. But to go back to the Wii U, I feel like there was a multitude of issues with the Wii U. You can look at essentially the games that were hitting, and you could blame the third parties to some degree, but you could also blame Nintendo as well. Nintendo, unfortunately, to their not knowing, HD was going to be very difficult for them to master out the gates. It took them a lot longer than it should have. And I feel like that hurt them a little bit, in terms of, like, it just took them a while to get the ball rolling. I think what they thought was, and very similar to the 3DS, because the 3DS came out the gates and stumbled as well. I think they did this thing where they overpriced the console. Both the Wii U and the 3DS. They overpriced the consoles, and then they didn't have any content. They're basically, like you said it perfectly. They're resting on their laurels. You know, between what the 3DS was doing with the DS prior, and then what the Wii did prior. I think Nintendo just thought, like, hey, we got a new console, everybody's going to buy it. But they also forgot that a lot of casual fans bought that Wii. You know?
And they've since dropped off. Like, they've stopped their support, and if nothing else, there was expectations and anticipation brewing for the new Xbox and PlayStation systems. Like, I think timing has a lot to do. When we talk about marketing, a lot of people think about, like, TV commercials, but marketing is like, there's a marketing mix. There's price as part of it. Even the packaging. I think when the Switch was about to start coming out, you started seeing them focus their brand a little differently. They focused on red, as your room suggests, like your headset and your microphone and everything, and it was a little bit more in your face. And all of a sudden, you had Xbox green, PlayStation blue, and Nintendo red, and it was very identifiable. You could spot that from a mile away. And in the Wii U days, I would actually suggest that the little teal or blue or whatever, like the crappy color that they had on that, is part of the reason that it was just so bland. It just didn't stand out. It didn't grab your attention at all. It was a Wii game, but it was like, I don't know, it wasn't exciting. It wasn't exciting to look at. So the other part of it, of marketing too, is how you choose your SKUs. So you had your basic one, your white 8 GB, and then they called it a Pro, right? Did they call it a Pro pack? I can't even remember. The 32 gig black. But to me, it didn't demonstrate, other than the capacity, like what was the difference? And one was white, one was black, but like that was an opportunity that was completely missed for them to have additional features out of the Pro. And then they could talk about that being, so you have almost like steps further and further away from the Wii, that maybe this is the only one that is backwards compatible. Like maybe that was something that blurred the lines a little too closely with the Wii, that all the things carried over.
The other thing that they miscalculated with the Wii U compared to anything was, at the time, tablets were starting to come around, but tablets were so expensive, right? The only tablet at the time was the iPad.
Mm-hmm.
Right at the launch of the Wii U, Amazon comes out with the Kindle Fire, and it was like half the price of it was like $100.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, all the thought pattern, I think, from Nintendo was, this is going to be, we're going to be able to market this as a tablet for the home, as well as a gaming console. And I mean, they were leaning heavily into it, like with the second screen stuff, like in terms of like, you could watch television, you could like have a chat thing going on about the television shows you're watching. Like, did you ever use that?
No.
At all?
No, I didn't really work in Canada.
I did one time, and it was so unreal. Like, it was like a second screen experience. There was all this stuff popping through that wasn't typically there during a television show.
Yeah.
And you could vote stuff during commercials. And, like, it was just crazy stuff that they were doing. But the problem was, it just never took off. So they killed it very quickly.
That needed to come second. It's the same thing with the Xbox, who's got their integration with Alexa. Like, that comes now, and that's a totally different story. But they started with it. It was the same failure for Xbox as it was with the Wii U. And I'm sorry if everybody can hear my wife dying and hacking up a lung in the back. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's awful. Oh my gosh.
I know.
It's really loud.
Tell her to,
I mean, like, obviously I hope she's okay, but like,
tell her to go to the backyard.
We're podcasting over here. The backyard. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's work through some of these things. So like the whole like if you're a Nintendo thing. So price wise, you said it was overpriced. I think definitely.
I think it was way overpriced. Way overpriced. And people were like, pull the gamepad out and put a Pro controller in there and sell it for $100 cheaper.
Yes.
And they were basically stealing that idea. Yeah. It was basically getting swiped off the idea of what Xbox did and PlayStation did by Xbox pulling Kinect out.
Yeah. And
PlayStation throwing the camera out.
Yep.
Because originally it was supposed to be Move was supposed to be built in and Kinect was supposed to be built in, and then right off Jump Street they pulled it out and lowered the price by $100. So people kind of were like, well, why don't you just drop the gamepad? Especially because of the fact gamepad never found its killer app, air quotes, until Splatoon and Mario Maker.
Yeah.
If they would have led with those games, I think we would have had a different tale.
Well, I think speaking to the difference of the original, the white bundle, and then the Pro bundle, I think not only did the gamepad never find its fitting within games or anything, it never felt right in anybody's hands. It would have been, so if you weren't going to get rid of it, wouldn't it have been great if you had like a Pro gamepad where like actually maybe the bezel isn't quite as ridiculous, doesn't look like it looked more like a gamer's thing. Like they could have been a little bit more sleek in their design. So if you consider yourself a pro gamer, a hardcore gamer, you could have gotten something that was not built for 5-year-olds, and you wouldn't have felt so ridiculous playing, or you would have been proud to show people this thing, which ended up happening with the Switch. Like, it was so cool. You started seeing indie developers show their game on the Switch. You could have had that opportunity with a cool looking piece of tech with the Wii U. I mean, obviously hindsight is 2020, but the look of the gamepad, I think, and the feel of it is part of the marketing.
I think the other thing that, I don't know if it hindered them, but Madden was on there. Mm-hmm. And when you played Madden, one of the coolest features was you could pick your plays on the gamepad.
Yeah. As
opposed to typically on the screen. But the problem was you only had one gamepad. So it only worked for one player. And it's like, man, it's just such a missed opportunity. Because there was also the problem of the Wii U. out the gates really couldn't handle 2 gamepads.
You couldn't even, they said right from Jump Street that you couldn't buy 2 gamepads, and I was like, that was so confusing for me to hear, and I was really angry at a lot of the journalists saying like, how confusing is this thing? Because I truly didn't think that most of the messaging surrounding the Wii U was confusing, but I was confused of why wouldn't Nintendo make the thing that is central to this unit? Why wouldn't they allow you to buy a second one?
Yeah, I went to I remember going to GameStop, Tony and I, like right after Christmas, and I was like, I want to buy another gamepad.
Yeah,
can I buy another gamepad. And they were like, no. I'm like, what do you mean no? I just read a thing that like we can use another game. What? Yeah, you gotta buy another Wii U, and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
I gotta buy another Wii U and then try to connect the 2, and then it'll only work on certain games. Like, what are you talking about here? Just made no sense. The other thing too was I think that I enjoyed a little bit of Nintendo Land, but for the most part, I felt like that thing was a flop. I don't feel like it really did what it wanted. It wasn't Wii Sports by any stretch of the imagination. They wound up eventually putting out Wii Sports in HD, and I think the mistake was they should have led with that. One of the very cool features of that was golf.
Yeah.
So you would put the gamepad on the floor, and it was your ball. And you would actually, like, if you hit it into sand, there's the ball laying in sand. If you put it in the rough, there's the ball with grass, like more grass, you know? And it was like such a cool thing that they did. So I feel like they should have done what they did with the Wii. Led with Wii U Sports or Wii Sports HD, whatever you want to call it. And the other thing they did was they added online play to it. Like, man, if they would have led with that, I think that too. So first thing is we changed the name. Name has to be Wii 2. Has to be Wii 2.
What about the new Wii U 2?
Wii 2
Plus
Wii 2
XL.
So if they stop it. So if it's Wii 2 and then it comes in with the sports package, at least the people that owned it originally might look and go like, oh my God, this is cool. I got to have this ability. The other thing they should have done, in my opinion, was they should have had Wii Fit Plus ready to go. So that way, these are the things that people recognized and would have been like, oh, I love these things on the Wii. To get the latest and the greatest, I have to buy the Wii U. So in those things, I'm talking to the casual fans. People that bought it. Like my mom had one. Tony's parents had one. My aunt and uncle had them. And they were basically using them for Wii Fit and bowling and stuff like that, and tennis or whatever. So if you say to those people, hey, you can get an updated version and here you go, and this is what it is, I think it helps push them there. That stuff didn't come till year 2 almost.
Yeah.
And it was like, so I think that's a missed opportunity. And then
they could have pushed it out through the Wii. Like you fire up remember on the Wii U when actually the gamepad, one of the cool people probably bothered by this, but I thought it was genius. The gamepad would light up. It would make a little cute little noise and say, "Hey, did you know this game is coming?" And so like their way of pushing marketing materials out to people, they've slowly started to discover like there's a news channel on the Switch. There's different ways for these messages to get to us. They could have done that on the Wii, and I remember when the 360 was starting to do that with the Xbox One. You fire up the dashboard, and one of the first things you saw was like, games are better over here. Games that you can't get on this console are over there. Like the time to leave this system behind. Like every time you fire it up, it's like, just cut me loose, man. Like there's something better out there, because you needed to make it so clear to those people who were still firing up their Wii, who was just like, I'll play this thing forever. I'll buy Just Dance until 2019 on the Wii. Yeah. They needed to make it so clear that like it was being left behind. And that's how you tap into that like fear of missing out for people. You show them. I mean, you had how many millions of units of those things that were firing up?
122 million, something like that. It was a crazy number.
And people still buying games for them. So they needed to, maybe there's something like within, when you bought a game, something that said like, hey man, don't buy the 2018 version of this game. It's time for you to upgrade. It's time for you to get the best possible experience.
I think that's something where they go to a Ubisoft or whatever and go, stop making games for this console. It's done. Like we're trying to move.
That's interesting. That's a bold move because, like, I mean, obviously, it's funny because once the writing was on the wall that the Wii U was a failure, they probably wouldn't want to do that because they're still making money off of their old system. So it's like
I get that, but I think out the gate to pull these developers, because I was going to get to that point too. I feel like Nintendo should have taken a harder line with developers. I think what happened here was this. Third parties were hesitant to put their stuff on the Wii U because things weren't really selling on the Wii. Nintendo titles were selling on the Wii. Third parties were getting lost in shovelware. And I think Nintendo took the mindset of, okay, we'll push this stuff out. Everybody's going to buy our console because, hey, we're Nintendo. So everybody will buy our console. And then guess what? The third parties will see there's people here to own them, and then they'll bring their latest and greatest games. Instead, they were bringing all these mishmash old games. You know, like we got Arkham City, but it was Arkham City Armored Edition. And then you got, like, you know, you got oh my god, Mass Effect 3, but you didn't get the trilogy that was going on all the other consoles.
Of all the trilogies of games, of all the games you could have picked, like, that's the one. There's no, even since then, there's no trilogy that is so interconnected that, like, the decisions you make in one affect 2 and then 2 affect 3. Like, for them to just give you one, it would have been a mistake for most series, for most trilogies, where you only get the one game. But for all of them, it's just like it encapsulates how tone deaf Nintendo was, or even how, like,
exactly,
EA was.
because Nintendo. Well, I think both of them. I think I understand what EA was doing. EA was just going, this console ain't going to move our stuff.
I was thinking,
we're going to send them some stuff. We're going to send them some stuff, and then go from there.
Nintendo had such a hard time. Sorry for interrupting. Nintendo had such a hard time communicating what it was to consumers. You have to imagine they were having just as hard a time talking to developers, going like, "This is why this is different. This is why you need to you need to develop for the gamepad." And it's impossible to develop for. It's a totally weird architecture. It doesn't translate over. It doesn't work well with. It doesn't port over nicely. So they made all. I mean, that's completely different. It's not necessarily marketing for the topic.
Well, no, it's not necessarily marketing, but I think to kind of where you're going with this in terms of, like, you got to get the third parties on board. Getting third parties is marketing. You're marketing to the third parties to get them on your console. You're selling them. Marketing is sales. That's all marketing is. Only thing marketing is brochures and commercials and all, but it's sales at the end of the day. So to me, part of marketing is selling your ideas to your third parties and going, hey guys, you need to get on board here, and this is how we do it. With EA, I looked at it as, here's Nintendo having no clue what Mass Effect is. No idea. And just letting it go. They had no idea what Minecraft was. It took them years to get Minecraft on console. You know what I mean? And it's like, they missed opportunities, because where it's a stark reality is you look at Fortnite. They jumped all over Fortnite. But if that was Wii U days, Fortnite wouldn't have come until year 5 of the console.
Well, the miss was that actually Wii U was actually more powerful than the other systems. And, like, the only time ever for Nintendo, they actually had a system that was more powerful than what everybody else was playing. So if there's a marketing miss, it was, why didn't they talk about that? This thing is more powerful than the 360. This thing is more powerful than the PS3. It plays games, or at least had the ability to, or the guts to do it. Somebody can probably write in the comments that I'm completely off my rocker on that, but I'm fairly certain that it had a better technical specs.
More powerful,
but it was limited by. It still was limited by, like, their OS was hogging a lot of the resources. Maybe its actual capacity for output was different.
It was more powerful. It definitely was more powerful. The problem was that it was very difficult to work for. Right. So, or to create games for. Yeah. It was very hard because the architecture and how they were making PS3 and Xbox 360 games didn't translate to the Wii U. It didn't work.
What a mess.
You know, when you look at a game like when you look at Arkham Origins, prime example. here's a console that's more powerful than the other two,
Mm-hmm.
and those two run perfectly, and then you play that game on the
just
Wii
chugs.
U, and it's chugging.
Like, imagine
and
if they
horrible.
So like the ports were big. People were pointing those out as a problem. Everybody had their like they made fun of it and everything. But imagine if the slew of ports that came out as a launch piece was like the definitive edition for like 5 of the best games that you ever played in that current console.
Yeah.
Like that's if we ran Nintendo, that's what I would have done. But I mean,
Yeah.
we're kind of going against what the capability of the system was. But like in terms of power, raw power, it could have done that. They could have had 5 Game of the Years or like the last like 2 years definitive edition, Game of the Year edition, not these like seemingly very random with features that nobody really wanted yet. Like if they focused on basics, it's a little bit more powerful. They needed a Mario game to start out, a couple of those things. But anyways,
the one thing too that was very curious to me and to you, I know to you too. For years at that point, they had been making dual screen games, and all of a sudden, it was like they completely forgot how to do dual screen games. And it was like, wow, like, man, here's a commercial you show, straight up. Here's a kid playing his 3DS, and he's playing Mario Kart on his 3DS. And he's like, "Oh, I like the map is on the thing," and you know he's making things. And then all of a sudden, his big brother comes in the room and he goes, "Oh, I'm gonna play Mario Kart on the Wii U." And then there's the dual screen with the maps and stuff. Like, translate that across that. Like, hey man, if your kids love their 2DS and their 3DS, they're gonna love the Wii U. And they just totally dropped the ball with that.
And I'm so glad you mentioned that as we're running out of time here. But the last thing that I would talk about is that like the feature that people who had a Wii U would rave about, and it didn't connect with people because they were too busy making fun of the system, was somebody, your wife, can watch This Is Us or whatever the sad show was at the time on the TV, and Bobby the Nintendo Guru can sit there and play his game on the gamepad off screen. Was one of the best things. That felt next gen. That's what everybody's experiencing with the Switch right now, but why not communicate that better? Why not make that a selling point of the Wii U? Make a commercial out of it. Make it part of the in-store displays or whatever. Like partner with some television manufacturers and just have like where Sony's got their, maybe not Sony, bad example, Samsung maybe. And have a show on there, and then somebody playing like the Wii U, or have a what are they called? In-store displays, and you're able to play it and then switch back and forth. Like that was such a key feature. Nintendo didn't even know what they had there or how to communicate it. But just kind of massaging that a little bit, I think would have been much better.
You're right, because that to me was a feature that I took full advantage of.
Same here.
Like I always would like. So the setup of my house was I had my recliner and I had an end table. There was a plug right there, right? So I had my gamepad plugged in to the wall at all times. And then like I would be sitting there, I get done eating dinner or whatever it might be. I might be sitting, and Tony might be watching something. And I would just pick the gamepad off, start it up, fire it up, and go, oh, and I would start playing. And if she was watching something, then I would keep playing the way I was. And if she wasn't watching something, I would go, can I use the TV? Yeah, boom. I go up.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And then if she was like, hey, I want to watch something at 8 o'clock, I go, okay, no problem. And I'd shut it down, and I keep playing on the gamepad. It was perfect. It was the perfect setup for that. And it's something that I felt was something that was lacking for many, many years. Like the ability to just play a game and keep playing and not have to shut it down. You know, and it's similar to the Switch in terms of what was the one thing that you hated about home consoles? Oh, when I got to leave, I got to shut it down. You know, like you think about it, like you played Octopath the entire time you came here, right? Typically, old school Sean would have started Octopath, went to the United States, never touched it that entire time, going back to Canada, forgot where the hell he was, and just gave up.
Yep.
You were so far into the game, you're like, I can't start now, but I can't remember where the hell I was at or where I was going. I'm done. And you stop playing the game. Different story this time. And that, to me, is similar to the Wii U, where in the past it was you played the game until mom and dad came in the living room and kicked you off the TV, and now you didn't have to. You could have just switched and kept playing and going that way. And so to me, that's something that they did. Again, they didn't. There was no.
They just didn't know what they had.
They had no
I'm curious what other people think. Like, we should have people definitely pop in the comments. Like, what features did you guys love about the Wii U that they just didn't sell? Nintendo didn't sell. It was a missed opportunity. Yeah. Not necessarily. Like, I think I also want to hear what missed opportunities there were in terms of things that they could have baked into it or choices that they could have done differently. But what was the thing that people loved about the Wii U that you felt was a selling feature that they didn't sell, that they didn't market properly? I'd be very interested to hear what people have to say, Bobby.
Absolutely. I agree. So real quick, let's wrap it down. Let's wrap it up here real quick. So for me, I feel like the key marketing components for me is, one, you name it Wii 2. Given. Has to happen. 2, the minute the sales start to chug a little bit and it's not moving the way you want it to go, man, yank that gamepad out and slash the price by $100.
Yep.
Get it down to a man. It was $350 at launch. $350. Yeah. That's way too much for that thing. You know what I mean? Especially when you figure the Switch is $300 and it does a hell of a lot more. You couldn't go more than 10 feet away from the TV and you'd lose signal and you couldn't play the way you know with the gamepad. So that's number 2. Number 3 is I would have, for me personally, and I don't know whether you're on this or not, I would have definitely started with more. I would have definitely came back with the Wii Fit and the Wii Sports at launch to try to merge the casuals over to the Wii U quicker, or the Wii 2 quicker than what happened.
I bring that with a Mario or a Zelda, but yes, I'm with you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying you don't. You definitely need to have a. That's a definite. But I'm thinking more for casuals. The Mario and the Zelda, that's more for the hardcore fans.
Well, that's why it's important.
So, so for me, on the hardcore side of things, a Mario, a Zelda at launch, and then you follow it up with working better or more closely with the third parties to course correct what games they're launching to make sure they did work out better. Because what they did was, that was weird, they went more mature games, at least in the United States. They went more mature games and no Mario, no Zelda, no Animal Crossing, no Star Fox, no Kirby, no none of that stuff. So I was like, huh. And then they came with Super Mario Brothers U and just wasn't the same. So I feel like a couple things could have course corrected. The other thing is a better commercial advertising thing where, like you said, you're showing off the differences, why you need a gamepad, all these, and pump that into people's heads. They should have nailed with that campaign and went off and running. They didn't. They hardly did any commercial campaigns at all. I don't think it was until Mario Maker that they really started showing off campaigns, and it was like, dude, it's too late now. Way too late now. You're done. Like, this console's over at this point. So that is all. Thank you guys for.
Well, you could get right up on the mic for that too. I could hear you. I could hear you before.
I'll just say I don't know why I do that. So that is all. Thank you guys for listening. If we ran Nintendo, be sure to follow Mr. Sean Capri over on the Twitters at Sean Capri, Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. If you would like to support him with a little bit of money, please go check out patreon.com/makeusbetter. He's not here this week, but Mr. Jason Lacy, you can follow him on Twitter at JW Lacy. Also, he has a Patreon as well, patreon.com/fluxdeposed. You can follow me, Instagram, Twitter, at Nintendo Gurus. And if you get a chance, please go check out nintendoguru.com. That is all. Peace out, Preston.
Bye.